هو محتال محترف متخصص في الاحتيال فقط على الأرامل والمطلقات الأثرياء. ضحاياه 3: بي كروزن، زوجته السابقة كارين لوا، مستثمرة تراسي هول، صديقته السابقة. نقدم قصصهن وكيف أوقع بهن وأساليبه في الانقضاض على ضحاياه، ليكون ذلك عبرة وتذكيرة كما قال الله تعالى:
وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين.
Hamish Mclaren viewed the world as a giant board game and people, especially women, as mere trinkets to pick up and cast aside.
I think he was cunning. I think he was conniving. He'd do anything to destroy lives to get what he wanted.
Bluey's Beach, a few hours north of Sydney, and into this quaint, sleepy little holiday village comes Hamish. All flashy car, mysterious history, and talk. Lots of talk.
It was 2008. Beck Rosen's marriage had broken down and she'd escaped to Bluey's with her 3 boys to rebuild her life. Hamish was a familiar face around the traps.
You'd see him just kind of out surfing or walking his dogs. And the rumours were he is a futures trader. He ran into some trouble in the early 2000s, but everyone was pretty fascinated with him.
Hamish soon picked Beck as an easy target.
Really nice person when I met him, and he'd take me on runs and we'd box together and things like that, which was really nice for me because I hadn't had like a kind of a father role model like that.
It sounds like I think he thought with me that I was going to get a good divorce settlement.
Hamish launched a charm offensive. He wrote love letters, choosing the words he knew Beck needed to hear.
And then I found you and the boys is a family. And I see that with you and I see that with the boys. I felt amazing. I was so happy.
In love?
I was in love.
It was a whirlwind romance. In October 2010, Beck and Hamish were married in a simple backyard wedding.
It was a good time.
But Hamish wanted more than a laid-back life at Bluey's Beach. He told Beck he was returning to his old job as an investment trader in Sydney. And one day, Hamish asked Beck to accompany him to a business meeting in the heart of Manhattan. In time, Beck would discover that Hamish had many, many different names. But that's not what made Beck doubt the man she had married. Instinct finally kicked in when Hamish started acting strangely around her son Jack's 16-year-old girlfriend, Jane.
Deeply infatuated with him. I was living a duplicitous life.
Looking great.
Just a complete and utter facade, I think.
This is the voice of Jane.
Beck discovers she is lumbered with the repayments, even though she never had the luxury of driving them.
Cars, deals, dinners, bills, it's all a mystery.
Beck eventually walked away from her marriage to Hamish. But Hamish was never the reflective type. He'd already moved on to his next target. Next victim. Karen Lowe was alone, trusting and emotionally fragile after a marriage breakup. She also owned a multi-million-dollar mansion.
When Hamish stepped inside, he found a property-rich, cash-strapped single mother, and he was quick to pounce. This is just beautiful. How old?
Quite special. 1890.
Gosh.
Karen's harbourside mansion was worth around $11 million. But after her recent divorce, she didn't have the cash to fix the leaking roof.
He said, you don't have to worry. I'm here to take care of you. He said, I can help you. And he said, I'll get you $1 million. And I said, no, I don't need $1 million. I just need to borrow $200,000 to fix the house so I can go to the market.
But Hamish quickly convinced Karen to borrow that $1 million. The plan was she'd get the roof fixed and then Hamish would invest the money that was left over.
He did instill confidence. He made me feel that things would be okay.
Karen trusted Hamish so completely that she didn't properly look at any of the loan documents he put in front of her.
Which makes me sound incredibly stupid, but he, you know, at the time, I thought he was acting for the ANZ Bank.
And that wasn't the only lie. Karen only realised she'd been conned when she was back in Sydney. The bank was demanding loan repayments, but her investment money had disappeared.
How much did he take from you?
He took 1.150. Yes, is what he took.
$1.1 million.
Karen was a whisker away from losing her home when a wealthy neighbour swooped in and bought out her mortgage. Karen will pay him back as soon as she sells.
It's very humiliating, actually. I feel humiliated and very silly now that it's over.
We met on an online dating application, and it was around March 2016. And, you know, flicking through photos, and we both connected. He didn't have a description on his profile. It was just Max, 41.
Tracy Hall was a marketing executive and single mum. Hamish was now the younger and very swipe-worthy Max Tavita.
From the photos, he looked okay.
Tracy and Max began talking regularly on the phone. That had always been Hamish's pet strategy for reeling in his victims. He was the consummate listener.
And we started chatting, and I guess it was the conversation that drew me in.
The relationship progressed quickly, and Tracy was soon spending a lot of time at Max's flash Bondi apartment. They were living the dream. Running together, surfing, going on beach picnics, and in this rare recorded voice message, clearly enjoying one another's company.
Did you fall in love?
Yeah, I was head over heels in love with him.
Max told her his parents had died in a plane crash when he was young. In fact, they're still alive. And that was just one of his lies.
Do you think he moulded his image to be what you wanted him to be?
Absolutely. I think in my case, he listened very carefully and constructed his identity, knowing that if he did that I would fall in love with him.
By now, Tracy was so in love, she had entrusted her life savings to one of Max's investment schemes. They returned home, but suddenly, the next day, Max stopped answering his phone. Tracy was frantic.
I was just calling constantly, like texting him, WhatsApping him, emailing him, calling him. So it's just very unusual.
Then Tracy caught an online news report.
And it was the footage of him being arrested outside his apartment, and his face was blurred out, but he's very distinctive looking, so obviously I knew.
After decades playing cat and mouse with the law around the world, his luck finally runs out here in Bondi, Sydney in 2017.
Police charged Hamish with a series of frauds that had cost his victims nearly $8 million in life savings.
And then, only then, I remembered that he had my money. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah.
How much did he take from you?
I lost nearly $320,000.